Every day, there are people all over the world looking to create better lives for themselves and their families. Not gurus or overnight millionaires. These are moms or retirees or college students, everyday people who are fed up with the 9 to 5 and realize there is another way. They are Amazon sellers, they're freedom builders, and these are their stories. Hey guys, so in today's episode of Jungle Scout Seller Stories, I'm joined by Yankees. Do you want to tell the audience just a little bit more about yourself?
A couple years ago, I had just finished working for a media company, doing like a little job over there, and I was looking for something to do. A friend of mine was mentioning to me how there were all these like daily deal sites. They post these deals on a regular basis, like crazy cheap, and you could take it and resell it on Amazon. At that point, I had no idea that Amazon was a third party platform that people could just sell on. So I had a really good friend back then who I discussed it with, and we would go on. I found this like tennis racket that, with zero knowledge, was probably a terrible buy. um, but for some reason, when I put it into Amazon, it was showing that it was selling for like $100 and something like that.
Uh-huh.
And I was getting it for like 20. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And we bought it. It was the wrong thing. Um, and but we did end up selling out of it. But that sort of got the ball rolling with Amazon and eBay. I did as well a lot then, and I built up a company with my former partner. We started like just looking for things randomly on Craigslist and all other places. Somehow, I mean, he was really good at research. Maybe hit the luck button quite a few times as well. We built up a business in like consumer electronics and refurbished electronics. Eventually, just like about a year and a half ago, we split our business and each of us went on our own way. I've been taking on and like different types of products that I was not doing before, and watching a lot of webinars and reading a lot of web content and
Uh-huh.
learning a lot more about what I was doing rather than just the luck of it, or the
Right.
there basically it was a lot deeper, I think, than I really imagined. um
Right. Cool. Okay, so you said that was 2011 when you started?
yeah.
Okay, so what else did you have another full-time job during then? Were you an entrepreneur? What else did you have going on, or what other sources of income?
Well, I was pretty young, but right before that I was working for like a media company,
Okay.
do advertising, sales, and that type of thing, for a couple months. I didn't really like it, and that's when,
Yeah.
so it went from a hobby to a business pretty fast. Now
Cool.
I feel like I'm more in data analytics than I am in retail, but I guess it's just like part of it.
So you're working for this media group. You didn't really like it very much. Just your friend told you about this, and you're kind of happy to try to jump on any type of opportunity to escape the other job you had. Did you go ahead and just like quit your job right away to start selling, or
No,
did
I
you
had
kind of
stopped working there, and then I started. There was a pause in between.
so you quit your job, you were looking for other opportunities, and you found it? Neat. I want to know more kind of about like your whole journey to get there, but you just want to tell everyone kind of like where you're at today as far as like number of SKUs or revenue or any other numbers you'd like to share.
I have about 300 SKUs right now and slowly building on that. I do use other software for like repricing that it helps me manage that amount of SKUs. I was
Sure.
never able to manage that type of that amount. I did about $2 million in sales in my first year.
Wow, your first year. Holy
My
smokes.
first year restarting. Well, it's
Yeah.
restart,
Okay.
so I sort of had to cheat, but from a brand new Amazon account with zero
Okay.
feedback and zero anything. It's pretty consistent. It's pretty good. I use a lot of help from different software, including you guys. That helps me out. Something I actually just a good point that I realized, like I get a lot of enjoyment from the software. Like, I don't. It's just amazing the like how detailed and how thorough all these things are, and how much on it. So I get these random lists of different items from all different places, and all the because of like the software, you guys primarily, I'm able to see like that there is a demand for something that does not necessarily give you those signs when you look at it. The ranking may not be so crazy high, or
Uh-huh.
the amount of feedbacks on it, or the amount of reviews on it may not be that high.
Do you have private label products? Or you source from wholesalers, or where are you getting the goods you sell?
It's not private label. I did find you guys because I was looking for private label
Okay.
opportunity. What I did was I sort of applied a little bit of your strategy to items that I was able to find already made by other manufacturers that where it was already in the States. So I took a lot of pointers from your like series, from your $1 million case study.
Nice.
And I still do. I still like when I come across some items and I see like, I'm like, oh, I have like notes in my phone of things that I will eventually go to private label if I get there on time. But I sort of I try to apply the strategy of private label to things that are already made. It's a bit less of a headache sometimes. It's also one thing I find is a lot of these companies don't sell online, and they have it here. They're manufacturing a lot more than I'd be manufacturing and getting pretty low pricing. So by the time it gets to me, I'd probably be paying a lot, pretty close to what I'd be paying if I was doing it myself.
First of all, congratulations. You're obviously doing really well, a really good job at it, which is awesome. I want to, more towards the end, I want to get back to some more like the, see if you have kind of like tips and stuff so people can kind of mimic your success. But I want to kind of go back to more so like when you started. So, you're working this job in the media industry, you didn't really like it, you got out of it, started looking for other opportunities. Did you try anything else besides selling on Amazon, or it was just on Amazon?
Amazon, eBay, it was my next thing.
What did like your friends and family think about you? Were they like, this is kind of crazy, like he needs to go back and get like a real job, or like what?
Well, right away, my father thought I was like Jeff Bezos.
Okay, nice. That's a good thing.
Every time he came across an article in a newspaper that mentioned Amazon, I don't know
Uh,
if he thought I owned the company or if he just kept on sending it to me. That was that. Most of them were pretty, my family was actually crazy supportive of the whole idea. I worked out of my partner's apartment for a little bit, and like the front room of my grandmother's house was our storage unit. I took up the space in her garage. There were times I got pallets delivered to her house, and like all my cousins were busy coming up and down the steps bringing things upstairs. It's on the second floor, so everyone was really supportive. People were, I think it was more new. It was more like people didn't really know what it was at the time. A lot of the things I bought, they're like, people buy that. Like that.
yeah. I still get surprised by some of that stuff, right?
I get surprised by that, but sometimes I'm like, well, there are so many millions of people out there using it. It's
I know.
like, even if it doesn't sell, you know, you don't need to have 100% interest from everyone on the platform. Quite a lot of opportunity.
So then did you know like right away within the first few months, like, okay, like this is going to be successful for me, like this is going to work out?
I don't think I had a clue what I was doing
Yeah.
in the beginning. Like I'm saying, like money, finance wise, it seemed like we were making money and we were doing well. Like it was always a wind that came and like brought us more product or those type of things. Like I said, it wasn't from like a very educated standpoint. Like it was more of a hobby that turned into a business in the beginning. Like I don't know if I thought it would be this big. Like I thought it would just be something to do, I guess.
In the early days, like purchase the inventory and stuff, did you just kind of have savings, or did you have to borrow any money from friends or family or a bank or anything like that? Or
The first purchase was on a credit card. Then I found a lot of stuff. It started on eBay. A lot was like basically I found a lot of like old things laying around, designer clothing, kids DVDs, toys. A friend of mine gave me some watches that he had laying on his desk that he couldn't sell. So many random things. Like I would tell people I'm selling stuff on eBay. They were like, "Oh, I have a bunch of garbage for you to sell." And
right.
slowly, I built up. We maybe built up to like $5,000 before we made our like first like cash purchase. It
Cool.
was completely organic. No, not really any loans till later on in the business.
Tell me a little bit more about as it progressed. Like you had a partner at the time. It was it sounds like you started ordering products from, you know, like wholesalers, people in the States. Tell me a little bit more about like the mindset shift and kind of like why you changed what you were doing at the time.
It probably was more about the vendors that changed it, that changed what was going on in the beginning. The first things I bought was like perfume and cologne, and that was one of our first like main purchases. It happened to have been close to like the holidays and then Valentine's Day, so it did pretty well at that time. I don't think it's as popular during the year like it is then. Then we got in touch with a supplier who was more in the consumer electronics, and that sort of propelled it to where we were, to the extent that it became pretty much like reliant on them, which wasn't a good thing. We were selling one line of products from one vendor. It wasn't such a great idea. It did give a lot of heartache, which leads me to like how I started the new business.
So just so like the audience is kind of familiar with, so these are already like essentially established brands. A lot of these you compete for the buy box on Amazon. A lot of the products you sell now.
Some of them, yes, some of them, no. I do,
Okay.
for the most part, I don't compete so much. I usually try to switch it up a bit on my own. Online, other people do it as well, but like bundling,
Yeah.
I do a lot of business pricing. The first thing that I started in, so I still do certified refurbished electronics, but I also do a lot of like office products, which naturally would require some business pricing. Together with the bundling and business pricing, for the most part, I also use like a repricer that helps me with this. I usually get quite a bit of the buy box.
So then, like, so when you create your own bundles and stuff, you're creating your own listings for those, and generally it'd be pretty rare that someone else would have that same bundle, I guess.
It'll be pretty rare. I mean, it's more manual labor than
Sure.
just getting it and sending it straight off to Amazon. You
Yeah.
got to put in some work bundling it together, but I'll always do, I mean, people see it online. It's not the world's greatest secret. Um,
Right.
but this is where you guys came in also. Like I'll usually track something for a good couple days and see like what the velocity of the listing is.
Hmm.
And if chances are that if someone's buying a couple hundred of them, if they're selling a couple hundred a month or whatever it is, chances are that people are going to buy two multiples of them. Very often I'll go and I'll make a 2-pack listing and attach it to the 1-pack, so you already have the velocity off of the 1-pack. Your
Nice.
your it's front and center there for people to see, generate sales pretty fast without pay-per-click, even though pay-per-click does help.
Right.
Listing optimization helps as well. These are things that just I realized that it's not as, it's more exciting when you do hundreds or thousands of sales a day, but sometimes like you also save yourself on the fulfillment costs. You're not being charged twice, so you're able to offer it at a cheaper price that entices people to buy two. So if
Yeah.
someone's gonna know that they're gonna need to buy two eventually, it will be a bit cheaper. They'll just buy the two straight away.
Tell us about some of the hardships along the way. You know, it's like everyone always talks to, or a lot of people often talk about all the good things in business. You know, like, oh, it's going really well, or making money. But as a business owner, I know it doesn't really go like that all the time. Tell me about some like the hardships you've had, some of like the sacrifices you've made, the struggles you've had, some like the bad days.
I'm supposed to focus on those.
I try to forget about them too, but I want to like capture a realistic picture of what it's really like.
My preference of where I live is in New York right now, but it's
Hmm.
very hard. It's a lot harder to run a business, to have like, the space in New York is just a lot more expensive than it would be in Arizona. Now, if I'm not from Arizona and I didn't live partially in Arizona, I wouldn't know that. But having the option there of that place, makes it a little bit harder. Keeping
So, do you have like a little bit of a warehouse? You have a small warehouse in Arizona or something?
I have a small warehouse in Arizona.
Oh, nice. And it's like probably 1/10 of the price as Brooklyn would be.
Not even.
Yeah. Right.
But sometimes it's difficult because it's hard to like micromanage from far, and it's hard to manage from far.
Sure.
Sometimes, especially a big part of I know you recently spoke about you were holding up your Jungle Snugs, that towel, and you're like,
Yeah.
this is the first time I'm holding it in a really like, and you've been selling it for a couple months and it was the first time you were holding it. You're like, well, dealing with product just seems like a bit of a waste of time, I think was like a quote. um, but sometimes you got to do that.
Yeah, I understand.
No, it would be a dream to just find, those couple products and do these $1 million case studies would be great. But there's so much opportunity that, you're just like always chasing that opportunity, which is a difficult thing to like gauge yourself and control. It's such a big market. It's hard to like stop yourself sometimes and, rein it in. Optimization sometimes gets me frustrated. I know that there are so many things I could be doing better with what I have already, and I could be generating more sales and, bringing it more a higher velocity to each product and bringing on more product. So that's a little bit of a hardship, staying on top of every single thing, like making sure that it's easy to get away from you because it's so big. I'd
Yeah.
say that that's from the also Amazon itself is a little bit of a difficult. They're great platform, if you're listening. It's amazing, and it's brought a ton of, it's brought a lot of blessings and opportunity and everything to so many people. At the same time, very often, these variations fall out of each other, and all of a sudden the velocity drops. You're not selling as many. You got to call them and spend time to get it back together. Sometimes, for some strange reason, paper clips will go from office products to industrial scientific, and the variations in one category looks completely different than the other category. When you're in industrial scientific, people don't really see, it's not front and center that they could buy 2 of them or 4 of them or 6 of them, and you have to call them up and be on top of that, make sure that it gets back into the correct category that it was in.
All of us Amazon sellers definitely have like a love-hate relationship with them, right? It's like it's absolutely the best platform to be selling on, but it's still frustrating as heck sometimes, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's more like you have to just be on top of it full time. It's never, whenever you think it's in cruise control, it goes off. It just shuts off automatically, and don't even. And you got to spend time to get it back together. Like it's not a click of a button.
I give a lot of crap to Amazon, but I guess that's kind of true of Amazon, any business as well, right? There's always things kind of falling off the rails you have to fix and that type of stuff.
Sometimes I'm like an Amazon policeman. Like I'm busy going around making sure that the listings are okay. Um, another another really good thing, but hardship is time management. I want to spend my day watching and reading and learning things that'll help me, but then I've got to apply it. So it's a tough one. Like you got to spend your time, at night instead of TV, watch a webinar or something that'll.
Tell me a little bit about how your mind shift has changed from the early days to now. And an example of that would be like, I remember like back before I started selling on Amazon, I had like this very like limited mindset, thinking like, oh, like I probably can't do well on Amazon because like people are out there sharing webinars about it, so everyone probably knows about it and it's like saturated. And then where I'm at today, it's like, holy cow, like I know like a million opportunities that I can make tons of money on. I just have to like decide how I want to spend my hours of every day, you know?
I used to think it was like selling on Amazon is like my private information that no one else knows about. I used to like try to keep everything more secretive, everything that I do on Amazon and in general. Now I don't really think that's maybe I'm naive about it, but I think that there's so much opportunity. I try a lot more to help people whenever they ask me questions instead of being vague.
Yeah.
For selfish reasons, I usually end up making like I know something and then I research it and then I learn about it, so I end up knowing it. But that's a big change. It used to be like very, very secretive. Now I just, it's anyone's game. There are so many products out there, so much opportunity. you know, go for it.
Yeah, well, I guess what would you say? Because like I get the question asked often. People are like, "Is it too saturated now? Is it too hard for me to get in there?" Like, I mean, what's like your honest opinion about Amazon? Like, can a beginner still get started? Do you think there's going to be a good opportunity there for years to come, or what do you think?
I think that a beginner could get started because I sort of look at myself like a beginner. I just restarted.
Yeah, and you did 2 million the first year. I guess there's something to be said for that.
That was pretty good. I was proud of that. I think, and like I don't know if there's as much room anymore for a hobby, like for someone to do like, like, oh, just randomly find something. I think it's becoming more established in a way for people to actually run businesses off of it, launch products and run real businesses. Whereas maybe it used to be like, oh, I got 20 pieces of this thing, let me sell it on Amazon. I don't know if that's really like such a great idea as like maybe I'm wrong. I mean, it's still a great idea. Anything's a great idea if you'll make a couple bucks off of it. But in the long run, I feel like it's getting more and more set up for people who are really running their lives around it.
No, that's really good insight, and I agree with you. You know, I think if you're willing to like treat it seriously, like as a real business, and uh, be willing to devote a certain amount of time and effort and everything to it, that it's a really good opportunity.
I find like a lot of people ask me like random things like, oh, could I sell this? Where do I find something to sell? If you're not fully in it, it's very hard to start. Like if you're in it completely, even if you're in it completely with one product, but you're going to be like launching that product like what you did, sort like you're completely in it. You do the pay per click, you advertise it, you keep it moving, updating whatever it is.
If you were like watching this and you're a beginner, like, what kind of recommendations would you have for them? Like maybe, someone, they're willing to devote the time, they're willing to treat this as a real business. They want to take this seriously, they want to quit their job or switch opportunities or whatever else. What tips and advice would you have for them?
Tip number one is to educate yourself a lot.
Yeah.
Learn a lot. Take interest in the industry. There's so many hours of like webinars and web content that you could read and learn about it, and learn about what works, what doesn't work. I think you mentioned this once also. Just because you want to sell it, it doesn't mean it sells.
Yeah, this is a good one.
It has to be what people want, not what you want. And sometimes it may not sound so cool to tell people that you're selling something that sounds pretty lame and stupid. And it would be more fun to say that you're selling drones and, the next big
The
thing.
future, yeah.
But you want to sell what's making money, and what people need. So that's one. Number two is dive in. Just do it. I mean, like, just start. And you'll make a few mistakes. They won't cost you nearly as much as you think. Um, it's all part of a learning process, but take advantage of the people who know and who are willing to share information. There's just so many little tidbits that you'll pick up. You learn something from a book. I could read a whole book and I walk away with one thing that I learned to do with my business. It may have been a lot of time, but it helps. Everything you read. I got very into, by the renewal of my business was sort of when I got very, very into the educating myself about it and learning much more. And you asked before about like mindset. A part of me thought that it was more like hobby and more handling of your suppliers was what makes your business. Um, I think it has more now. Now it has more to do with me, what I find to do, what I find to sell. It's very easy. Once I find the right things, to find the place to get it is nothing. I'm never going to be dependent on one supplier again. I've learned a lot over the last year plus about researching product, finding product. So it's sort of, once you get there and you branch out, you're not fighting over those crazy, crazy popular items. There's a lot of money to be made in not in iPhones.
What does the future look like for you now? You restarted a new Amazon account. You're doing really well. Tell us a little bit more about where you'd like to be in a few years, or what plans you have.
I'd like to get a full grip on category by category, um, go through the different opportunities that I could find in it, branch out to as many SKUs as I could possibly find, as well as I would really like to dabble in private label. I'd like to master it. That's really, obviously make a lot of money along the way, but I do want to, I want to master it.
In 10 years from now, do you see yourself still selling on Amazon?
Yeah, among other things, but I do. I love it.
Yeah.
I really like it. I don't, I don't take a break. I really, really enjoy every minute. It's always changing. It gives you a little bit of frustration just to keep you going. And it's rewarding. I like it. Like when you see something that you created the listing for, came up with the idea, and all of a sudden, like the velocity of the listing is lifting every day. You're selling more and more, and you're like, I did that. Like, and then, even a competitor comes on and tries to and fights with you for the buy box, and hey, he thinks it's a good idea too. And usually, especially among these things, this is a good tip. Among the things that you put in more effort on, Amazon is most likely not going to compete on those items. If you're the one who has to put it together, if you're the one who has to bundle the item or whatever it is, and when you're fighting against Amazon, then we have no idea, even with all these different data companies and all these other software companies, we really have no idea what makes them own the business, what makes them own the buy box, what makes you own the buy box. No one has a real idea. I mean, there's I use an algorithmic repricer, and they give you like a bunch of different studies, but nothing is concrete. When you're fighting against a regular third-party seller, you're going to have a very fair shot at it. First of all, they run out of product. You run out of product. Most likely you guys do not want to engage in price wars, unless the seller is a very big amateur, which is also a good piece of advice, is do not engage in price wars. Everyone ends up a loser. Just wait it out. I mean, like if your life savings are in something and you must get out, obviously, do what you need to do. But in general, don't engage. It'll come a time, unless it's a dying product, which your new extension actually, you could see the history of the product over time, from 2015. Sometimes I was able to see.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm researching a product. I'm like, well, this product launched in 2015, and they must have been pushing a lot of advertising for it because it was rated really high, selling a lot. Then it's gotten lazy and it took a huge dip. And then sometimes it picks up and you're like, okay, this is a pretty decent product, and it picks up normally, not like a spike. And sometimes you just see it going down and down and down and down, and you're like, okay, this is a dying product. So you want to get out of those. You have to know your products, know what's going to last, what's going to be there for a while. Like I said, I try not to be in items that are a dying, a so niche like that you have to, I try not to be in something that I have to educate. I have to spend a lot of time to educate the customer what the product is. I don't mind spending time educating them to buy my product, but I don't want to spend time educating them why they need my product. I really found that I learn a lot when I'm helping people.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's really rewarding, right? Especially once you start hearing success stories, about oh, your information helped me get past this roadblock and really do well. It's wow, that's a pretty cool thing to be a part of.
And I don't know if I'd be here without people helping me. So
yeah.
I mean, a lot of the things I've learned, I've learned through people like you. I've always done it. I've done it way before I met I use Feedvisor also. I watch a lot of their webinars,
Uh-huh.
and I watch a lot of like all these different webinars that come up. Whatever you send me, whatever anyone, that goes into a file in my Gmail, and I just get to it at a later time if I can't join right then. And
Yeah.
it's just all these things help a lot. I'm really grateful for it. So it sort of changed my mindset from the hobby to the business.
On a side note, what do you think about Feedvisor? Does it work pretty well from you? I get kind of like mixed reports. I'm just curious.
I think it works. I have not used any other repricer.
Yeah.
So that's the disclaimer.
Okay.
What happened was it really enriched me with a lot of information. It taught me a lot, and that's why I went with it. I would not be able to manage so many SKUs without it. It's impossible.
Yeah, exactly. You pretty much have to have a repricer once you get to a certain size, right?
I'll tell you, at one point I was like addicted to software and buying one thing after the next, one subscription after the next. And I found myself paying a lot for software.
Uh-huh.
Then I cut it down, honestly, just to you and to Feedvisor and to my API. I'm saying like, yeah, that's basically what I cut it down to. For my back end, you guys for research, and then Feedvisor for repricing. And it's helped a lot. I mean, this was pretty much, I know Feedvisor was like launching a scouting thing. I'm not part of that plan, but it doesn't give the like, I don't know, whatever. The demo didn't give me as thorough information that I was getting. And the truth
Oh
is,
yeah.
you didn't tell me that about all these things. Like I didn't read it, or you didn't tell me about the Jungle Scout extension adding these new features. And it's just, I was on it. I was going through like a list of products, and I'm like, oh, let me check this out. And I check it out. And I'm like, wow, that's really helpful information to know if a product's dying or if it's not. Sometimes I do question the accuracy of like these trackers and estimators. Like sometimes the estimator's off of the tracker's off the estimator. Sometimes they're off. So, but I think it gives a general idea. Like you're not going to tell me that something sells 60 a day if they don't sell any.
Right now they're pretty accurate, right? They at least get you like ballpark to know whether or not like is there legit demand in here like or not, right?
Yeah, but like I said,
Um
I'm not fighting for buy box so much.
I don't think I've really talked about this on the air, but we have like something really cool coming up. It'll probably be ready in like a few weeks, maybe a month. That should like really take like our like estimated sales like product tracker to the next level. We've built like this machine learning system that's really cool. I won't bore you with it, but we want everyone to just be like Jungle Scout is so accurate and everything else like compared to just garbage. Like that's like our goal, for like everyone to be saying that. So we've been putting like a lot of like time and effort towards it. It's just kind of like a challenging problem, obviously, but we're getting really close. I'm excited about it.
Very, very relatable. The software, your webinars are amazing also. They're very informative. Happy I've learned something from it.
Well, thank you again for coming on, and I hope you have a great rest of the evening.